Hi, I'm Jesse, and this is After the Gig. Today on the show, I have the great Jason Anick. Jason is a jazz violinist, a composer, and one of the youngest professors ever hired at the Berklee College of Music. He's built an impressive career that spans gypsy jazz, bebop, and pretty much everything in between. From touring internationally with guitar virtuoso John Jorgensen right out of college, and leading multiple groups including the acclaimed Rhythm Future Quartet, Jason has become one of the most respected voices in modern jazz violin. For the past 14 years at Berklee, he's specialized in unlocking improvisational skills for string players, helping students discover their creative voice while also mastering the technical fundamentals. He's also the author of the book Violin Fingerboard Mastery, a book that distills years of teaching experience into practical exercises for violinists looking to understand their instrument from a harmonic perspective. In this conversation, we dive deep into his approach of teaching improvisation, how he helps students find the floor of their musicianship, his upcoming live album project, and why the best students are ultimately their own best teachers. And without further ado, here's my conversation with the great Jason Anick. A long time. Well, thank you so much for doing this. This is rad. It's cool to be back in 1140.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been here for 14 years, so it's just another day for you. But are you in that 14 years? Like, what has changed over time? Like, as far as your approach to teaching students early on and to now? Like, has there been like a vast change in that time?
Yeah, I would say, especially since I started teaching here pretty young, I would say I was like 25. So on the younger side, and I had some teaching experience under my belt, but I had more performing experience under my belt, kind of touring with a great guitar player, John Jorgensen, right out of school, doing hundreds of dates with him. So I was doing some workshops with them, and I was doing some private lessons and starting to teach at some summer camps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was starting to build some pedagogy around that, and I had some great teachers myself that I've learned a lot from, and kind of their approach and mimic that. But for sure, it's evolved. Like how I teach, the more students you meet and you work with, and you see what works with them, what doesn't, and you get a lot of feedback from the students those first few years. I love teaching it. I love teaching, and I was always excited to do it, and I was excited to grow, and I knew it would be some growth. So, since then, I've seen so many. Like I said, I've seen so many different students, and I feel like I'm a lot better at kind of boiling down how to get right to, like, okay, this is the important stuff. I cut out a lot of like fluff as far as like what I give them, and it's like, all right, this is getting right to a certain technical issue, this is getting right to a certain concept that I feel like will help have some breakthroughs. And then I also, was something I did, like it was kind of a pandemic project, was when I had that time, I wrote a book. So I wrote like kind of a teaching book. So I kind of consolidated a lot of ideas of things that I'd worked on, as well as a lot of things I've been doing with the students. And so that kind of helped me get really focus in and put some resources together and get organized on that front as well. And
what would some of that like fluff be that you tried to just get rid of? Is that kind of old teaching techniques that didn't come from you that you're like, we don't really need to get into this, like, or is it more of a personal thing for each student?
Maybe I would throw a lot of things at a student where I could have like narrowed the focus of like, oh, here's a bunch of things to do this week. But then it overwhelms, and it's like there's too much versus like, all right, let's just focus on this one thing.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
And let's have a breakthrough here. Like, let's unlock your, as a violinist, let's unlock our left hand or our bow arm. Should relax you. Just do this every day. Just getting a little more organized as far as how to focus their practice. But then again, also, everyone comes here. Everyone has a different like learning style, and everybody like has different chunks of time that they're gonna do, and everyone has different focus levels based on like, oh, I can get really deep on one thing, or I need like a little bit, I need to parse it out. So it's, I just always just get creative to kind of craft, and meet the student where they're at.
Sure.
And I think by having so many of these different students that I've had to work these individual plans, when I do get things that work across the board, that to me is like not fluff. That's like really important stuff. Like this has worked with all these different students of different learning styles. So I try to have an archive of that kind of those exercises and studies or songs that I've had breakthroughs for different students.
That through line that kind of works for...
Yeah, so always trying to find, look for those things, to have those, so they can have like revelations with their own playing and their own practice.
Are your students predominantly all like violin majors, or are there a lot of different majors that come to see you?
Huge variety of majors.
Okay.
Definitely the predominantly violinists who want to focus in on improvisation. That's one of, obviously one of my specialties is focusing more on unlocking improvisational skills. If there's somebody who's like, I want to do a semester of straight classical, there's other teachers that they go to. Even though that I have classical and I incorporate it into some of my...
You're the improv guy.
I'm the improv. I'm like, so if people that want to just scratch the surface or just dabble in it, or, just start to uncover some things with it, they'll come to me, even if they're not, hey, I want to be a jazz violinist, Sometimes they're like, hey, I like improvising. I want to be able to be thrown in a setting and have that skill at a basic level.
Sure.
And then there's others who are like, I came to this school to study with you and study your style. So it's like, it's everything in between of like somebody who...
It must be flattering if like someone comes to specifically learn from you. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty...
Not that it's unwarranted. It's very warranted, but like...
No, yeah.
It's really cool.
It's always humbling. It's always a nice surprise when that first lesson, it's like, all right, so what brings you here? Let's talk through your plan. And I'm starting to kind of craft and get to know them.
Yeah.
And they're like, I came here because I saw you at a show in San Francisco and like that changed my life. Or
it is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, those types of things are very special. And then there's a lot of students who are like, oh, my friend studied with you. He's like, you have to study with Jason. That's also very nice. And they get to know me when they're here at the school. And yeah, I mostly work with violinists. I have a few mandolin students every semester.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then I also will work, it's like some cellists come to me. And I've had some erhu players. I've had some unique instruments.
A what?
Erhu, a Chinese erhu.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's like kind of a one, actually has 2 strings, but it's a traditional Chinese instrument.
Interesting.
Berklee is such an international community, and a lot of people will come here from all around the world, and maybe they play a traditional instrument, but they're like, I want to improvise, or I want to learn jazz, or mix traditional Chinese music with jazz, and like I'm trying to help them kind of navigate the jazz part, and I kind of see how it can.
So you're not predominantly, So you're not predominantly like, do you know how to play that? Is that a dumb question?
I do not know how to play it, but
so what do you do?
Okay, so yes, they're not going to come for me for technical advice. So I'm more so going to be showing them things like harmonic things.
Okay.
And exercise, like figuring out which exercises can apply from the violin to that, right?
Gotcha. Okay. In a nutshell, like if you were explained to the layman or whatever, like how would you unlock the ability to really open up and improvise, other than the key factors of just really knowing your instrument in and out and studying all these things? Like, what is the key in your opinion, or in your mind, of unlocking, being able to improvise really well?
Oh, it's a tough question.
Okay,
it's a tough question.
It's good. I got a good question.
You have a good question. Yeah, because there's not.
I usually get one an interview. So.
Yeah. Of course, I think about this all the time, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm thinking about it all the time. It's hard to narrow it down into one thing. I mean, number one, I'm pointing them to records. And I say, you have to be obsessed. Like you're listening to it constantly, you're singing along with the records, you're absorbing it. If you are interested in jazz, like if you want to play jazz on your instrument, and this goes with any instrument, if you're not passionate about jazz, forget it.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. Yeah, you have to have that level of obsession and curiosity, and that comes from listening to it and like actually enjoying it and really being a fan of it and the discovery. And you hear this one, you're learning a standard, and you hear this one version from a sax player, and then it leads you to find this version, and then you hear a singer do it, learning the lyrics. And so you have to have that level of obsession, and that comes from listening. And then it's I'm always having them learn solos, so what we call transcribe, which is a funny term because you don't necessarily write it down all the time. Like sometimes you might want to archive it and write it down later, just so you have like a folder, your transcriptions to go back to or to study.
When I was here and I heard the term like you need to transcribe these solos or these drum solos or whatever,
down.
I'm like, I'm supposed to write these out, and obviously you're like, no,
it's kind of the lingo for
yeah.
learning something by ear.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a huge thing. So you're listening for both enjoyment as well as to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're obsessed with it, and you want to figure it out, and you want to be a part of the jazz world, and so you have to like immerse yourself in it. Playing along with records is huge, as if you're like part of the band, and just trying to mimic the players and call and response with that. So yeah, I'll always make them do transcription projects, and then they'll come in and we'll break it down, and I might take little bits of it and have them then both analyze them, but also show like little puzzle pieces that you can then use in other songs, and kind of show them some of the tools that they can build as they're transcribing and they're learning the vocabulary to extract the most value from that solo, so that they can start kind of bring it into their own language. So there's a lot of that. And then I have like the stuff that came from my book, which is things like I worked on myself. So it's called Violin Fingerboard Mastery. So knowing the fingerboard, just different exercises to think more in chords, and to just really start to discover the layout of how the violin in particular, how the chords are laid out, where the harmony is, so that you're developing that relationship where you hear something, your hand can know how it relates to the harmony, because that's such an important thing. You have to have, your ear has to be really good, and you have to have a lot of inspiring ideas in your head that's coming from listening and doing it and playing, experimenting, but we can't just rely on our ear, even if it's good, because our hand won't necessarily follow. So it's making sure that they're in sync. So whether it's playing a little pattern or a little motif or a lick you learn from a solo and doing it in every key, but like really having it solid down and understand how relating it to the navigation of the fingerboard. And I do a lot of like there's little exercises. That's some of the stuff that I kind of like boiled out the fluff and just said, oh, this particular exercise kind of helps you to see every key this way.
This is like the weightlifting of, it's the strength
things you could,
building.
like daily things that just kind of know it better. All you need to do is say, I would need to know the fingerboard better each day. And it's like, okay, that's a goal I can do. Instead of like, you must know every scale and every mode and every song, everything up and down the fingerboard is like the most daunting thing you could tell to somebody. Yeah. And it's so overwhelming.
You need the steps in front of you rather than trying to tackle the whole mountain.
Exactly. Because I always think long game musical growth is long game, and you can have gigs along the way, and you can have great musical experiences along the way, but it is a long game. You're developing, and like you're thinking about like long term. Like I'm just as excited about the next 10 years as I was like the previous 10 years. Sure. And how I'm going to grow, and I'm continuing to learn. I'm continuing to grow, and sometimes seeing the long game, because we're always thinking about like I need to be better this week, or I need to be this, and we do want to keep improving our floor. I call this the floor of like, hey, come tonight to do this gig. Like, what's your floor that with little preparation you could just jump in and do it? And that floor has to be improving. But then there's like the long goals of like, okay, this song, like I'm building tools to be able to kind of play it more fluently, but maybe in a couple months I'll be ready for it. And like,
I love that idea of the floor.
The floor is really good because that's like that level
good visualization of
yeah. So that always has to be increasing. So that's just your control of your instrument, your ability to think something and it comes out. Mm-hmm. That's the floor and. Yeah, and it's like the chops, those types of things where and you have like go-to, if it's in jazz, you have go-to things that you could play. You have standards that you call, or just the ability to quickly jump in and hear the harmony, like your ear,
right?
Like the floor of where your ear is, like, oh, just come in and sit in with us. Like if he'd be quick at learning songs,
right?
And having a way of like learning things fast. So those are all like the floor that needs to improve. And then there's like the longer game of, oh, I want to, write for this. Maybe in 2 years I'll record, so I'm going to build into like getting a full album. Mm-hmm. So you have to both be like thinking day to day, but also over time.
Yeah.
And so like, I kind of think like, okay, when you first pick up the instrument, it's like a blank slate. You're just like, for like the fingerboard, you just kind of like guessing at notes, and then over time,
still do it on the guitar. I'm just like,
yeah, you know what I mean, like that feeling of it's just kind of like, whoa, I'm learning a few things. I got a few go-tos, but like this idea of just kind of seeing it all related. And over time, I wanted to create these exercises, and what I did in my practice, so that to me, it's like when I'm improvising now, I have like a really solid grid that I can work off, mm-hmm. and then map and pair that with kind of like the inspiration in the flow of like, oh, you surprise yourself a little bit, and then you can go with that idea, and versus like, okay, I'm gonna just play a pre-prescribed solo.
Yeah.
So to me, I love improv. I love like surprising myself, that being on the edge of like, oh, it could break down, but you're confident. And
what does like, so when you're playing as someone that has like such a great grasp of the instrument that as you do, like when you're playing, I'm trying to think of this because I know that when I'm sitting down behind the drums, I'm not thinking much.
Yeah.
I'm in a what they call the flow state.
That's the dream.
Yeah, and like that's great. And then there's times where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna try something, and then
go for something.
Let's see if it lands. When you're playing the violin, like, do you hear what you want to play before you play it? I guess is something I'm saying. Like, what kind of state of mind are you in?
I feel like it's just kind of, it's stream of consciousness.
Just going.
It's like I have this vast toolbox of options, and to me, I think of it in a way like painting, right?
Okay.
So all the colors are there. We all have the same colors that every painter can use. Mm-hmm. But they combine it in a way, in this elegance. And
right.
Same thing with poetry. I think about poetry, like we all can like see all the words in the dictionary, but we don't string it together in this way that moves people, and they have to read it over and over again, and then they're like to tears, or they're like laughing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's that to me, it's like you need that foundation. You need to have the language or the colors or the tools. However, if you're like that, you think of it, and the instrument really well, and you have a lot to say, and then to me it's all about how creative you are. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I think of improv as composing real time.
Sure.
So we've all like a lot of musicians compose, right? But the idea of composing something meaningful on the fly is kind of like, that's a daunting task.
Yeah.
Right? We think, oh, we catch a little idea and then we craft it.
Uh-huh.
But what I'm trying to do is do that on the fly. Like that's what I think about, because I love writing, and then I realized at some point my favorite improvisers, I can sing their solos. They're so lyrical. I want to hear them over and over again. Why? Because it's a composition. It's not like I was there for the show, and I heard it. I'll move on. Don't need to hear it again. I want to hear it over and over again, just like you want to hear a good Beatles melody over and over again. And any good melody that you want to keep going back to. So that's how I think of improv, and so it excites me to try to do that and like create a solo that would be memorable, it would be singable, and it would be like worth going back to listen. And it kind of has the things like a good composition. So you can get analytical. We're here at Berklee. You could say like, well, what is a good composition? Repetition.
Sure.
It's lyrical, but there are surprises.
The hooks, the motifs.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
throughout,
Exactly. There's through lines. There's like a certain vibe that's connected. It's not just like all over the place.
And there's erratic. An arc.
There's usually an arc, and so those things are some of the bigger picture things that I try to focus on, and those are things when you're listening to great soloists to pick up on and see how they keep your attention, how it's like a melody. And I feel like I'm constantly just working to be able to do that. Just write whatever the song that I have to improvise over on, I'm writing a new melody or just and composing real time.
Yeah. This question just kind of popped into my head, and I want to talk about your book too. But through the years that you've been teaching here, the students that have come in, have you noticed that everything that's on YouTube and the resources that students and kids have and that they access at earlier ages and stuff, have you seen that students coming in are at a higher level than they used to be, or no, or is it just kind of the same, similar?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think there's been a lot of talent across the board. So I think there's always talented people. And
sure.
I think with the access, with access and somebody who's obsessed, they can find everything.
Yep.
And that it's great for finding obscure things. Because back in the day, if like for me, even we were kind of the last generation, we did have to have the record.
Yep.
At least when we were early on. And I'm so lucky that my dad introduced me to Django Reinhardt, Stefan Grappelli, Jean-Luc Ponty, Charlie Parker. We had these records laying around, and I would play them. And as soon as he was like, "Wow, you're really into that," he would find more for me, and like, "Oh, here's another violinist. Here, check this out." And he was really encouraging it. But you can imagine a non-musical parent. They're not going to kind of point them in those directions unless they just happen to have a teacher that does it. And nowadays, if somebody's interested in a really obscure thing, maybe they hear jazz on a like a Pixar film, and they're like, "Oh yeah, what's that?" And then they do a rabbit hole, and they're like, I want to study this," and like, what are all these things? And then they can find anything at any corner, and then some people, they
go down the rabbit hole.
They go to rabbit holes of finding obscure music, and then they can find community, and so it's a great resource. Everything's there. It's also overwhelming sometimes. Back in our day, it's like, oh, I had this album and I only listened to that. Like I used to just like obsessed. I had like this Charlie Parker's Greatest Hits. I was like the only thing I listened to for months and months.
Same. I like to listen to stuff over and over, trying to find little nuances in the tracks.
Yeah, I was definitely the only kid in my high school who would be blasting Charlie Parker as I rolled into high school, singing along to his solos. I loved it, nerding out to that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I don't know if I was able to have all this other stuff. It would have been great, and I take advantage of it now. I love discovering new music, but I would hope that people growing up will and I think they do, like the ones who are obsessed, they will just like listen over and over again to like one specific album to get that feeling of like, this is the one that I'm gonna like dive deep into, even though I have everything else that can all wait.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. And I imagine it's hard in this day and age when, you can scroll and the attention span it's kind of like this amazing thing met this terrible thing.
Yeah.
And they're at odds with each other,
Tends to be most technologies.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, now AI is like the next thing. Like that's a whole nother conversation. But as far as the attention span and everything, I think there's studies across the board that like it's harder on difficult things like those breakthrough things that you need to do to like practice over and over again, repetition. That can be a little bit harder because you don't get the reward right away.
Right. Yeah.
But I always tell my students that there's like once you get into the zone, that practice is like this kind of escape and away from all that noise, and it can just be like a singular focus. Once you have that kind of like, it's like the runner's high or like that kind of thing where you do something so much that you like lose yourself in it.
Yeah.
And if once you have that,
it's like you're buzzing almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always say, okay, look for that and like find it in repetition and like the harder practice, and because that can happen, and when it does, it's like you can like it changes your relationship to practice, right? Because you can just like get in the zone and it becomes something where
you get in the zone, you break through these walls, and I mean, in my early days of practicing, like you're working on one thing over and over and over again, and then you're just like, it's like you're punching a speed bag or something, and all of a sudden you just find the rhythm and you find it, and it's like, and that feeling to me, I always try to explain that feeling on the podcast is like, it's like a drug. Like it feels so good to perpetually be able to experience that feeling.
Your brain's firing, everything. It's like it's a great feeling. So I try to get them to find that in practice, and I also try to get them to find it when playing with other people.
Sure.
Like when you're all in sync, you're on the same wavelength.
It's the best.
It is.
It's really the best. Playing music with people is the best. It's great. It's great.
So if you can find it, you can find that joy like with just you in the practice room. And sometimes you have to remember like that feeling, like when I'm doing this to play with other players, and those moments will come back, and you'll be even more confident and more able to just kind of step in and be in a flow state,
right? Because
you're not overthinking things.
How long were you planning on writing this book, or did it just kind of come out of the pandemic, or just having the time?
I've been compiling these exercises, since I started teaching here. There are things that I've worked on myself for many, many years, and they've been these exercises kind of all over the place. Like, I got one here and over here, and a lot in my head, and I'll hand them off to students. And I thought about starting to kind of organize it a little bit, and then then it kind of presented itself to pitch an idea to do a book with Hal Leonard and Berklee Press, and so
it's part of the curriculum here now.
Yeah, and so that's a great opportunity to like really dive in, and then we made backing tracks for it. So everything with it, you can also kind of apply to an actual band, and so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
And I did a lot of it actually with when Milo was born, and like they actually napped back in the day.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Now that they're 4 and you're 5, they're not napping. Yeah. They just have.
Mine is aggressively not napping.
Yeah. As soon as he wakes up, you're like, all right, we're on a ride till he goes to sleep. See you in 12 hours.
Yeah.
God, I love that, how much energy they have. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was napping when it was like that first year. So you'd have these. I would just like have him here, and I would just like type the book.
Yeah.
While he was napping, because at that point it was a lot in my head.
Sure.
Or like I was pulling from like PDFs of exercises I had.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was it was a lot about kind of thinking like getting rid of the fluff and like what is it I want to add to a book that is about helping people to understand the violin from a harmonic perspective.
Yeah. What level would you say is the range of players that would get the most utilization out of your book?
Yeah, I was trying to broaden it as much as possible. If somebody doesn't read music at all, they're not getting anything from it, you know. So that would be the first thing, is you have to read music. And I actually have a lot of non-violinists who like to kind of dig into these exercises.
Okay.
I also made them, there's a lot of things in there that people who maybe just want to have some alternative class, like exercises from their classical, like just to start to help understand and see Bach from a harmonic perspective. Sometimes they dig into this and they start to just start to see chord tones, they're starting to see things like that, and they apply to classical. Sometimes like fiddle players, and you know, obviously anyone who wants to learn improv, I think it's all
beneficial
good stuff. And then some people just kind of use them as like these technical exercises or warm-ups, and so people get different stuff from them, because it's not a, all right, day one do this, day two do this. I'm like, I kind of have some early foundation things, and then I say, hey, choose your own adventure. Like this is a chapter that you could go to chapter 6, you could go to chapter 9, and then go back to 1, and then create your own version of this. So it's about like a seed, kind of an idea that you can then add your own rhythms to it, or create your own exercise within it.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to encourage.
That's why I love about like just talk about drummer books. Like the syncopation book is, I don't know if you know, it's a blue cover. Every drummer my age probably has it, but it's super old school. It's all these different syncopation rhythms. And when I first started playing and getting lessons and stuff, I was like, okay, it's easy on the hands, but then you go and you start learning drum set, and you're doing it between limbs and stuff, and then the exercises take on a whole new meaning and a whole new level, and then you can literally take this book that you think you learned when you're in 5th grade or whatever, and go back and be like, oh, I'm playing the right pattern, and I'm going back and forth between my left hand and my foot and my left foot and my left hand, and you know, all kinds of.
You can do a lot with it, yeah.
It's incredible, yeah. You know, I'm guessing that's like kind of the choose your own adventure thing.
Exactly. I think the thing that, in my experience, and this is a kind of an ironic thing about being a teacher at Berklee, is that the best students are they are their own best teachers.
Yes. Yep.
Which is a funny thing, but they spend the most time with themselves in the practice room. I'm more of a guide and coaching them and helping them along the way, but every student who went on and is out there doing it, making it, they had that obsession and that curiosity, and I would help them, steer them, guide them, give them things, but they were always coming in with questions. They were always doing extra. It's like, oh, that wasn't assigned, but you went further, deep, and then you created your own version of it, and then you wrote a composition based on it, and it's like it's going above and beyond. So like they're
facilitating their own learning. You know?
Yeah, they have like the agencies there, and they're like really diving head first, and it's really fun to teach students that are like that. And I also like students that need a little extra momentum, a little extra coaching as well, and sometimes they need that to kind of break a certain barrier to get to that next level.
Right.
But yeah, often when somebody comes in and it's like, okay, that's an all-star, like they're going to be doing things, they're at like lesson 1, so you can see that they're thinking, they're so engaged. You show them a recording, and they go and they learn. You're like, hey, just learn the first course. They learn 3 courses, and they're like, oh, have you checked out this version by this player? Yeah. That's really cool too. In fact, I made a playlist of 10 versions of There'll Never Be Another You. I'm like, that's it right there.
It's like, don't stop doing what you're doing.
That is it. That was me.
Yeah.
That was totally me.
Yeah.
I had great teachers, but I think we should be our one of our best teachers should be ourselves.
Right. Yeah, and teachers are I like how you put it, like guides that are kind of point you in the right direction. And like, you know, because students, I know just, you know, speaking about myself is I know the things that I need to work on. Like I know what's wrong, and you can choose, or I can choose to avoid it and stay the same, or I can tackle it and I can grow and become a better player and a, you know, better musician.
Yeah, and sometimes teachers come in, and when we don't know the best way to tackle something, like that's where they come in. But we still have to kind of evaluate ourselves and say, you know, like I'm struggling with this, and maybe it wasn't something that a teacher would have seen based on like the 30 minutes we had or the hour we had, because we had other things to focus on, but maybe missed. Like, oh, every time I do this thing, or I struggle with this kind of chord or this kind of thing. And when they come in, it's like they have that question, we can just like, bam, go right to it. And so a lot of the best students have that kind of curiosity and great questions, and then I'd be like, this exercise would be great for that.
Yeah.
And I got the resources and tools to kind of meet you where you're at and then take you further.
Yeah. Do you see yourself writing another book in the future?
Maybe. Yeah.
Depending on whatever develops, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been writing these 12 solo violin pieces, which has been a really interesting feat, because you then have to be the melody instrument and the chordal instrument and like the whole arbiter of a good song, which by just yourself, which is really difficult. I'm used to like, okay, piano do this, lay down the harmony, or I'll have guitar lay down the harmony and the rhythm, and then I'll play the melody on top of it, so I can just focus on like a single line.
Yeah.
But it's been a really good project, stemmed out of the pandemic as well, all this time by myself, and something I've been thinking about doing. I love improvising like cadenzas or little intros and like blending classical and jazz when appropriate. And so that's something that's been great. It's been really good to work on and develop these things. So like short compositions. I'm calling them J-tudes, Jason A-tudes.
J-tudes. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. And where do you see yourself, you know, you've been here for a long time, like, what are you working towards? Like, where do you, that sounds crazy. What are you, like, working on right now that's your progression in your art and your music and as a teacher or and an artist?
Right now, like, in the short term, thinking about an upcoming album.
Great.
So, doing a live album.
Live album. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't released a live, like full-on live album.
That's
so
cool.
We're doing 2 nights at a club. Yeah, I did an album with a piano player, Matthew Champlain, that I met at Hart School where I went.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always gigged together since then, and good friend. And so we did an album that we released last year that kind of celebrated Oscar Peterson on his side and Stefan Grappelli on the violin side.
Yeah.
And it was a really fun quartet with guitar and bass. So we're going to take that quartet, do a follow-up album, and then have a guest clarinet as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so thinking about that music. And right now, with life, teaching, and family life,
being a dad,
I'm carving out as much time as I can. And so I am always trying to build my floor. Like,
you're in a happy place.
Floor of like, the floor of like, just my overall musicianship, trying to improve that, and you know, the odd interesting things happen, you know, this gig here and this gig there, or sad person with this, and that kind of stuff happens. But for my own stuff I'm putting my name on, that's the next project, is doing this live album. And I also I really want to do another project where I do kind of contemporary jazz songs, or contemporary jazz versions of like songs that like we grew up listening to. And there's some jazz artists who've done that already, like Brad Meldo's done Radiohead, for example.
Right.
And like Joshua Redman did a John Mayer thing, and so it's not like completely
groundbreaking.
Yeah. But I want to find songs that people haven't done, and things, you know, come up with some jazz versions. Because that is something that a lot of jazz players did back in the day. There was like actual pop songs that they made into instrumental jazz versions.
Yep.
And so why not borrow from all these great eras of pop music and like in the late 90s, early 2000s, and a lot of good stuff.
Yep.
That could work well. Some of it, no, and some of it is like Muzak, you know, like that music where you're like, Well, that's a weird version, elevated version of Coldplay, and like,
Right, yeah.
there's that, but no, it wouldn't be that. It'd be like heavy.
I can't imagine it would be like that.
Yeah, I would try to make it more creative while still making it sound like the song.
Sure.
So that's another thing that's been in the back of my mind. And
That's awesome, man.
that would be fun, as well as these solo violin pieces. My goal is I'll record a few, but also have a bunch of violinists, like great classical players. Mm-hmm. Video them, record it, and then make an album of like all 12. And then can be part of the classical repertoire for people that are looking for like contemporary music and just things like solo violin music that is different, slightly different, little different edge based on like my world of having growing up playing some fiddle music, playing rock, playing jazz, and classical, and I bring them all into the table in these solo violin compositions. So hoping that after I get them out there, whether it'll be a book or they'll be released like a free PDF based on like the video. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do it. Could be like, oh, here's the video and here's a free PDF, because I really just want to get people to just play them.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So,
dude, thank you so much, man. Yeah, this is great. You're inspiring to talk to. You're like, it's such a talented, smart dude. I'm a little taken aback by it. Yeah, no, it's good. Berklee is very lucky to have you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude.
I'm lucky to be here.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Great chat.
Yeah.